And we welcome you back to the starting lineup. Great to have you with us on a beautiful Thursday in the Ozarks. Starting lineup is brought to you by Play It Again Sports in the Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield and Fremont Springfield. Everything you want on the sports line right there at Play It Again Sports by Citizens Bank of Rogersville, with two locales, one adjacent to Highland Springs and the other in Rogersville itself. Brought to you by Swing Right Golf at the south end of Campbell Avenue, a little bit north of Nixa, and you can get your golf game honed just right, especially indoors with that simulator they have down there at Swing Right Golf. And by Marshfield Chevrolet, with two locales. What you do is you take the I-44 exit and turn left and a couple of turns, and you're right there at Marshfield Chevrolet. Great to have you with us, folks. Ned Reynolds along with
Scott Puryear.
Art Hains.
Good morning, Arthur.
Morning, fellas.
Mellis, wherever you want to go. We don't even know our own names anymore now with all the news coming out here lately. But you know who we're going to have on now? We're going to talk some Bears football with Coach Casey Woods. He is at a staff retreat up at Lake of the Ozarks. When he came on with us, he was pretty much half naked there. The shirt was unbuttoned down to the belly button, but now he's buttoned it up now and he's ready to go. Coach Woods, good morning, and tell us about what you guys are doing at Lake of the Ozarks.
Good morning, guys. Thank you for having me. We're excited. Hey, last couple days here before calm before the storm, so we've got our entire staff is up here at Tantera, the Margaritaville up here, and there's a guy named Fred Daner that does a great job taking care of our staff. And so we up here, we got our families up here, we got an opportunity just to fellowship and be together a little bit here before we get kicked off next week. So really excited about that. Had got a fun day planned ahead of us, and got some staff meetings and some just kind of, lay out the philosophy and the plan and the vision for what it is that we want to do here in 2026, and then get a chance to get on the lake for a couple hours. It'll be a fun time. You mean to tell me you've got to go to Lake of the Ozarks to figure out what to do in 26? WIN. That's what you got to do, man. Hey, man. Sometimes it's a good. I want them to be able to. If I'm going to preach family, and if I'm going to preach kids, and if I'm going to, talk all those things that are buzzwords that do matter, then I got to be intentional about that. Sure. So there's an opportunity to get everybody's kids up here, to get our kids together, to get our wives together. We have a wives meeting today, just to visit with them about what the schedule of the season looks like, how important they are to what it is that we're trying to accomplish. It's just a great opportunity just to lay the foundation for the entire family setting that we do have. And boy, you can do that in an office, where it feels all business-like, and you got to do that, or you got a chance to get out here where we can enjoy one another and just be, people. So we're about to embark on a 6-month grind together, and I want to make sure in October when we disagree and we're trying to figure out, what we got to do to win games or something like that we at least have a foundation based off of being around one another and the mutual respect that we have for each other, and the fun that we can have a chance to have together.
Sure.
Well, Casey, you've got a wide open quarterback competition, I know. Kind of tell us about the strengths of the candidates.
So I love both of our quarterbacks. I think Henry Belin, is the Duke transfer. Skyler Locklear is an Austin Peay transfer via UTEP. He's transferred twice now, I think. And so both those guys, the beauty about both of them is I think that both of them have a chance to move the ball down the field, and both of them can win games. Both of them have played. There's a lot of growth and development. So I've been in situations where it's like, oh, man, I don't know if we have a quarterback. I do think that we've got two here. Now, I know there's an old saying that if you got two, you got none. However, I think we could pick either one and go in there and do that. Now, we got to go into fall camp. We've got to give them the reins to this deal as we can, to really give them a chance to lead our team, to give our team a chance to follow somebody, and take us there. So we want one of them to take that as quickly as we can possibly get it named. I have a feeling that we'll have to count on both of them before the season's over, but we certainly want to give a guy the opportunity to take the reins of the team and really run with it.
Now, see, Coach Woods, this is why you enjoy coming on with us, because we waited till question 3 to ask you about the starting quarterback. You're used to.
what I figured out is the closer we get to the season, that question comes up a little bit more frequently. So we start fall camp next Tuesday. Boy, if we can name it by the following Tuesday, I'll do it. So it's just a matter of what I'm not going to do is force a decision just to make one. I want to make sure it's the right one. But at some point, we got to get our team behind somebody and let everybody run with it. And so we want to make sure we're in good position for that.
Just been amazed, I think, and I'm sure Ned and Art agree that the outreach you've done just since coming on board on the fly in January. I don't think you've turned down an interview anywhere, including non-sports entities. You've been at charity functions. You've been meeting with this club and that club. You've been all around the state. You said you were going to go into all the high schools in the state, and you did it, judged by your map. First-time head coach, has this been an eye-opening process for you? The things that you never had to worry about as an assistant, and the things you've had to do in the last 6 or 7 months? Yes and no. I mean, I think that there was everybody that I ever talked to is like, well, there's no playbook for it. It's like kind of like taking a kid home for the first time. You're like, all right, well, here you go, man, figure it out. And you will, but have confidence. And I did. And I had confidence that we'd figure it out. And I mean, obviously we hadn't played yet, so we got to get to that point where we can win games and do those sort of things. But, I think the biggest maybe surprise, or I didn't put enough weight behind it, put enough expectation on it, was that the scope of the things that I would have to consider, and it's I bet I got 3 calls a day during the course of our vacation that we had, that we just got. Really, we've been back in the office. I know it looks like I'm still on vacation. However, we've been back in the office for a week here, but I'd get 3 calls a day, and one of them's like, "Hey, so and so missed class, and what do you want? When do we want to run gap scheme, day 3 or day 4? And what color do you want to paint this wall? So it's like you get a different call from all over campus about whatever, and it's so that's I think I've been preparing for. I'm confident. I got an unbelievable staff around me. I've got people that can help. I've got a university that's hungry. I got 2 bosses, Patrick Ransdell and Dr. Williams, that got unbelievable vision for this place. They've helped me where I've needed help. When we've gone out and asked for things, they said, well, let's, either they've said yes or they said, well, we can't do it exactly like that, but here's how we can do it. And when you get a staff that's like that, that's hungry and understands exactly what it is that we are, we're all working. We're all pulling in the same direction. We're all working towards the same goal. And so that's pretty fun to get up and go to work every day.
When you put the kids on the field for their first drill, is it Tuesday? Is that when you begin?
So Tuesday we'll report. We will practice Wednesday for the first time.
What is the schedule that you have for your practice? Do you have a specific definitive order that you put them through?
Yes, we're pretty specific, and I'm kind of a practice junkie. I've always known that. I worked for a guy named Bill Clark at UAB that really, made me understand. I mean, he said practice is everything was his way of saying it, but it's like you have to bank reps, right? You have to get it, and you have to organize it in such a way that it feels as game-like as possible. So we're going to do that, and we're pretty specific about how we do that, and and I kind of obsess over it. We have a schedule, and then we go back over the schedule, and then we go over the schedule with our staff, and then we go over the schedule with all of our support staff, and then we go over the schedule with all our proxies, and then we go with. I mean, it's like, sure. We are super intentional about what we try to get done there. In classic fashion, you kind of try to build into team, right? You start with some sort of slower paced, non-physical walkthrough presentation of what's going on. You'll get some individual drill by position. You'll get some unit or hookup work where all of a sudden now you're getting including, maybe receivers with quarterbacks as opposed to by themselves, or receivers versus DBs or something like that, and then eventually progress all the way to team. But I think the best way you can get good at football is to actually play football. So we're going to get a ton of team reps. We'll go split fields. Everybody on our team is going to bank reps during the course of fall camp. And we've got to, with the new eligibility rules, the way that they shape out, nobody's off limits to play, so that doesn't mean you have to play everybody in game 1. but you may have somebody that's not ready to play game 1 that needs to be ready game 6. And so we're going to have to be super intentional about how we practice all year to make sure that our entire team is continuing to develop.
Casey, there was an interesting article yesterday in the News Leader. Yes, sports in the News Leader about your use of AI in your program. You might kind of expand on how you're using that.
Well, you know what? We're like pioneers in the front end of that deal. I'm not even exactly sure what all we can get out of it. There's no question that AI it ain't going the other direction, right? So we got to make sure that we embrace all the technology that can potentially help us in the future and streamline the processes that we already do, so we can focus on the things that we need to win games and be the best we can. So, there's a guy named Thad Wells who was a outstanding high school coach over in Virginia that I got to know some years back, and he's kind of on the front end of doing that. He's trying to do AI through a coach's perspective. Sometimes when you just get AI through like a computer guy's perspective, it doesn't present the same way to guys that are trying to operate and execute game plans and live day to day. So to have a guy that's a coach that's really gone out and researched this and understand what's going on, he's a guy that I think can help us. And so, I think there's a fine line between creating efficiency and making sure that you do a great job using all the technological resources that exist for us. There's a fine line between that and between not training our young coaches. We got to make sure that our young coaches still understand football, that can still communicate. We ultimately we are a teacher industry, and so we got to be able to go out there and teach, and in order to teach, we got to be able to know. And so unless we're relying on those computers to teach our players and get the rhythms and feels of what human interaction is, then we got to make sure that those guys, we can't lose that step. And so we're trying to be super careful to make sure that some of the best reps I ever got were the 4 years where I was an entry-level coach, and I was just breaking down film because I learned how to block the power versus every front. And I can look at it and say, well, here's how you block it versus that front. You know what I mean? As opposed to having something else do the work for you. However, we want to stay as cutting edge as we possibly can and make sure that we're using all available resources to give us the best chance to be efficient, so we can focus as much as we want on the actual game planning and preparation.
I think one of the fun and intriguing storylines for Bears football is Michael Osei-Bonsu coming to play for the Bears this fall, first time he's played football. Your thoughts and I guess your level of intrigue to see what you can get out of a former basketball player of that size and that athleticism.
Well, it is a good feel-good story. It's also, he should play football. Two, he should play football for the Bears. And just because what he's done, what he's invested in the community of Springfield, he's got a fan base that it's a human interest story, right? And they all love Big Mike. They follow him. They want to see him succeed. They're going to have patience with him while he learns the game of football. So whatever he looks like versus Texas A&M and Lindenwood is going to be very different than what he looks like, versus Liberty and Jacksonville State later in the season. So, he is a very unique athlete. He's bigger than I thought he was. He looks like he's 265 pounds, which is plenty big enough, but he's actually 300 pounds, which is NFL.
Yeah.
He is a rare combination of size, speed, and power, explosiveness. He's still a 36-inch vertical at 302 pounds. So it's like his best football is probably 3 years from now. So it's my job, and through the recruiting process, we talked to him about this. Like, I got to teach him football, and that's probably going to include some defensive work. That's probably going to include some offensive work. That's probably going to include some kicking game work. Like, he's got to, most people that you get in that situation have some kind of football background. Mike really doesn't. The first time that I said 3 technique, and he looked at me like I had 2 heads, right? And then I was like, well, do you know what a reach block is? Okay, well, do you know what a hash mark is? Nope. No, you know what I mean? So it's complete blank slate. And so what's cool is he's going to develop and improve exponentially fast. And I think that people are really going to enjoy him. He's made of the right stuff mentally. Obviously he's got to get his feet wet and the lifestyle that exists on the defensive line, and at tight end, where some of the physicality of the game. That's just, if you've never experienced it, you got to experience it just to get yourself, some understanding of that. But as he absorbs that and develops, I'm really excited. He's a great kid, man. He's an integral part of this community, and I'm excited to watch him develop.
And somebody from the opposition team that runs into him is going to wonder, where in the hell did this guy come from, and who?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, in your efforts around the area to bring folks into the Bears camp and so forth. Now, be candid with us. How have you found the overall general attitude of people here toward football?
Oh, I think people love football here. I think it's an untapped resource, so to speak. I think that there's people that are open to it. I don't think people appreciate how great of a town Springfield is. Or maybe they do, and they're just humble about it, and that's part of being part of the Midwest, is everybody's super humble, which I love, right? It's a great community to be part of that. But it's like, man, we got an unbelievable product in Springfield, and they like a winner. And I just moved here from Dallas, and you drive down the street in Dallas, and there's 38 flags hanging up on. Every house has got a different flag on it. This is a one logo town, and everybody's bought into it. It's a great time to be here. They've just not previously have had an extended investment in football, neither the university nor the town. And I think that I think people want it. I think people are hungry for it. I think that people like John Perry down at Nixa High School have done a fabulous job of presenting year-round football to this state. I think that we ought to go to war for spring practice in this state, because I think if we had year-round football in the state of Missouri, we'd produce 20 more Division I athletes a year. 20. And I'm not even remotely over-exaggerating that. And so what's cool about that is, man, it's kind of creeping into the state through Southwest Missouri with what Nixa's done with their facility. Obviously, Rogersville has done. Republic is about to open the nicest one down here. It's a great time. I don't think there's ever been a better time, obviously, to be a Missouri State Bear, which is fun, right? At the core, that's what we're looking for. But I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a student at our school. I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a citizen of Springfield. And I think that we've got to, I went and saw 18 fraternities and sororities this spring. I spoke at all 16 freshman orientations this summer. Like, our student body's going to understand the assignment. And if we don't get the fire marshal called on us, those first couple of games, then we ain't setting the tone. And then, but I've challenged our community to break the attendance record twice. I think we can do that before September's over, but for sure by the time October's over. And so I am, man, I think to answer your question, I think the town has been super receptive. I don't know that they've ever been asked or they've ever been, urged, or they don't, it takes us all. It's not just, hey man, would you like to come to the football game? It's like, hey, no, we need you to come to the football game so we can win, and so this university can advance, and so this community can advance in cooperation with the university. And so I think that we're dreaming big dreams here, and obviously we got to win games. We understand that that's the cost of the platform, but I think that everyone can improve in our community and our part of the state with an investment in our football program.
Art?
Casey, you've not experienced these weeknight October games like we're going to have in this conference. What's your thought about that?
So, surprisingly, Sunbelt Fun Belt, back when my first year in coaching in 2012, Sunbelt was kind of one of the precursors to midweek games. We played a Tuesday night game. We played 2 Thursday games. So I've got just a peek behind the curtain about what those experiences are. I think it's fantastic. I think it's an awesome exposure for our conference. I think we've got a better conference. Our conference is kind of like Springfield. Everybody's like, man, we got this great conference, but we just kind of humble about it and all that. It's like, no, we need to go to the top of the and mountain and shout it out, and it's like, I think we got a great conference, and I think that we performed. I think we've got good coaches. I think you watch what Delaware did in the postseason, Western Kentucky did in the postseason, Jacksonville State did in the postseason. Like, it's like even Missouri State took, a really good Arkansas State team all the way to a one-score game. And so it's, I think we got a great conference. This gives us an opportunity at national exposure. That's in that, whatever, 58 straight days of football or whatever that ESPN puts on. And so, we got a chance to be a part of that. And every other sport plays at some point on a midweek. I mean, people don't generally conceptualize football being there, but why can you not? We got Wednesday night, we're bringing in the conference champions as our home opener. Home conference opener, we're bringing in the conference champs on a Wednesday night. Like every faith organization in our city ought to go have Bible study and then tailgate and then go to the game. Like, you got a great opportunity to do that. That following, 2 Tuesdays later, headed into Halloween, we're doing Black Tuesday, right? It'll be an awesome opportunity to get Sam Houston in here. And I think it's a great opportunity for national exposure. I think it's a great opportunity. Your kids ain't going to go to sleep till 10 o'clock anyway. Come to the game and then, we can't use midweek as an excuse for why it's, midweek ought to be something that we celebrate, encourage, and can be a part of. Man, that should be as fun a thing as anything we do. I'm going to ask Dr. Williams to delay class on Thursday. If I got to ask the mayor to delay federal, make that following Thursday. Hey, no city workers have to come in until 10. I'm in on that too. So it's like we got to do what we got to do what we got to do to celebrate those 2 home games and really make it an incredible atmosphere for our team and for our community to be a part of something.
Coach Woods, we know you got to go. Appreciate your time. Looks like you have calm water there in the background at Lake of the Ozarks. So have a great time with your staff. Stay out of Party Cove and stay out of the headlines. Okay.
Hey, that's it, man. We're just here to talk about vision, man.
There you go. All right. Hey, again, we appreciate your time, and we'll touch base throughout the season. Thank you.
Sounds great. Appreciate you guys.
You bet.
Go Bears.
His name is Casey Woods. He's the head football coach at Missouri State University, and he is ready to play as we are. Take your time out on the starting lineup. Back in a second. Anybody, Scott and Art, who can't get caught up in that enthusiasm is not a human being. This is great what he has to say.
I don't know when he sleeps. Because already said he's visited with 16 to 18 fraternities and sororities and every campus orientation. I know he's done podcasts. He did Coach Perry's podcast this week. There was one of the Around the Ozarks podcasts. It's not a sports pod. He doesn't say no, and I think that's a good thing because we've had some guys that said no in the past, right, Art?
Yeah, they have. But, Casey's everywhere.
Yeah.
And everywhere he goes, he leaves people fired up about Bears football.
He does, and I know that one thing I was going to ask him, but he can fill with the best of them. Ned and I were talking about, we ought to have him just on when we have a segment that's open, say, Coach Woods, just go to town. We're not even going to ask you a question, just tell us what you think. And he's really good at that. But he and Corey are going to have some fun in those post games, I think, aren't they? That
they may last for about 8 hours.
There's no time limit on a post game show, is there, Art?
It's supposed to be 30 minutes, but that can fudge a little bit.
Yeah.
And it probably will with Casey.
Do you have any kind of feel on which quarterback will probably wind up by the end of the year being the guy?
Well, I can't help but think Belin has a better pedigree, from Duke, and he played. And Locklear was quarterback on a bad team at UTEP, and maybe not his fault. But I kind of think that Belin might be the better one of the two, but we'll see. And
you have to also take into consideration the atmosphere that he was under, too. Altogether different level of fan base and fan excitement and so forth and so on. And he played in the Gator Bowl, for heaven's sake. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I thought his comments on Big Mike were very intriguing, too, that they're trying to figure out what they have there and that his best football may be 3 years down the road. I mean, we see these guys every year that either get invited or they have their own workouts for the combine type stuff. And you got a guy that's 300 pounds with a 36-inch vertical that's 6'4". That's the kind of guy that goes from who is he to what round is he going in?
Right. Yeah, and, he gets some of his plays on tape this year, Just depending on how it goes, but I think some NFL team would be willing to take a chance on him.
And the fact that Coach Woods has to teach him football, which is teach him to be agile, mobile, and hostile.
Yeah. And
but hopefully not ineligible.
Ineligible, yeah. And often available would be a good one too. Yeah.
That's right.
You think back to Antonio Gates, a guy that
right.
Came into the NFL. Nobody knew anything about him other than he was a really good basketball player, and he ended up being a perennial All-Pro tight end.
Bears knew about him as a basketball player.
What would you guess, both of you, as a position eventually, if Big Mike, if this pans out and he becomes a pro-type prospect?
Defensive end.
Art?
Yeah, at that size, defensive end or even tackle. But he, as Casey said, he's got to get used to the physicality of football. Now, he was not averse to some contact in basketball in the low post, but this is different. But he certainly has the physique to handle it and be somebody that people don't want to go up against.
Well, and the first thing I think of that size and that quickness, and this is way too lofty comparison, is Aaron Donald, who's talking about making a comeback, with the Rams now that they got Myles Garrett on the outside and Matthew Stafford. This may be the last hurrah for him. But you talk about a run stuffer. If you're 6'4", 300, and you're that athletic, they may not be able to block you on the interior because those guys aren't usually as quick. And you talk about a guy that could disrupt things eventually with those tools, like a Donald, like a Vita Vea, who wants out of Tampa Bay. Those kind of guys, Chris Jones, they make some money, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
They do. Well, not very many 300-pound defensive ends, even in the NFL. But, I mean, he would be more of a tackle physique. But I'm intrigued to see what he can do at tight end also.
Yeah, 6'4" is a good tight end size. That's kind of, anymore, it seems like that's the bottom height for an NFL tight end. Most of them now, if you got really good ones, they're 6'5", 6'6", that type of deal. But 300 pounds. Of course, if he's a tight end, they probably want to bring him back down to about 280, don't they? And in that range,
and you have to master the blocking schemes and things like that, and that can be awfully tough to absorb.
Defense might be a quicker and easier adjustment because if you're Coach Woods and his staff, and it's like, okay, we have this physical specimen, he doesn't know what a hash mark is,
right.
but if we point him that direction and say, go get the guy with the football there that gets it from the center, then that may be easier to pull off quicker, I would think, too. So,
well, I mean, he's an intelligent young man, and he'll pick up on this, but just any experience at it.
Absolutely. Let's take a break and then get ready for our final segment ever of the show as Ken Iggy Strode will join us. And we will remind Iggy that there are still FCC regulations to meet. It's kind of like when Booms used to come on with us at the other place. And you just kind of went, okay, is this going to be it? Are we done after today or not?
But the way things work now legally, we can almost say anything anymore.
Well, go ahead.
I'm not going to.
Just spill right now.
What I'm going to say is time out on the starting lineup, and we'll be right back. And you're home for the St. Louis Cardinals as well. They play the Chicago Cubs later on this afternoon up at Busch Stadium. Starting lineup brought to you by Play It Again Sports, by Citizens Bank of Rogersville, by Swing Right Golf, and by Marshfield Chevrolet. And Ed Reynolds along with
Scott Puryear.
Art Hains.
And a special guest on with us, a blast from the past. It's kind of embarrassing that we're into July and we haven't had him on here with the new show, but our first producer over at the other place, Ken Iggy Strode, live from St. Louis. Iggy, good morning.
Morning, Art, Scott, and Ned. How are you boys?
We're doing great, thanks. Kind of give us an update on what's you're back on air in St. Louis, correct?
Yeah, when they made budget cuts back in 22, I said, time to retire. I've been doing this for 33 years, and I was enjoying retirement. And back in early April, they called me and said, we want to bring the old show back for an hour a day. My show moved to 101 ESPN, so kind of went away from our little bit of sports and a lot of grab ass to all sports. But they said, we missed the old show, let's do it. And they asked me to come back for 1 hour a day, 4 days a week. And I said, I'll do 4. I can't do 5 hours a week. That's way too much. I'll do 4. Yeah, 11 to 12, Monday through Thursday, 105.7 HD2.
Who is on with you, Iggy?
My old crew, Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Jackson Burkett.
Pretty good.
Art?
Yeah, Doug Vaughn was in the fraternity with my best friend, so I got to know him years ago, and he's had a long career. But Iggy, I mean, your big strength always was your ability to get guests. It was amazing, some of the people you were able to get on the air. What is your technique and secret to doing that?
Well, that was a long time ago, Ned, or Art. You know, when I first started in the business, I was fortunate because KSP was probably at the time, 1992, probably only the 5th all-sports station in the country. And I was brought on as an intern producer. And I said, look, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it right. And I really didn't know how to produce. I didn't know anything about producing radio. So at the time, I reached out to WFAN, a guy named Rob Scalaro, who went on to be like the head of Madison Square Garden Network. And I reached out to him by phone. We had no cell phones back then, no computers. And I said, look, I'm starting this job as a producer. I want to do it right. What do I do? And he gave me some, basic things, get them stories for the day, make sure they're prepared, and get guests. And I said, how do I get guests? And he was very kind to me. He said, since there aren't many of us in this business, I like people that want to go do a good job. He faxed me about 300 phone numbers. I mean, I had Joe DiMaggio's home number, and the first guest ever was Greg Maddox from his home in Las Vegas in the off season. Then I just started building up contacts with all the sports stations as they started to build up throughout the country. Just introduce myself to them. If you need any numbers from me, call me. So I could pretty much get a number. I got a good rapport with the NFL Alumni Association girl. She sent me numbers of any NFL players I wanted. So after a period of time, I just built up a pretty good Rolodex.
Well, and we were telling the story in the first hour, kind of previewing your appearance here about you finding Albert Pujols for us on his debut game in Colorado that year. And you knew the traveling secretary with the Cardinals. We had Albert Pujols. A guy texted me, said that Pujols actually played left field that day because they still had Mark McGwire at first base.
Sure did, yeah.
Yeah, and that was one. Did you almost kind of fudge a little bit sometimes and make it sound like we were in St. Louis and not in Springfield? I guess it's okay to come clean on that now.
No, because I had a rapport with a lot of these people. And I just name drop Ned. Everybody knows Ned.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't have to do that. I mean, I lied a few times to get guests on. I pretended to be gay one time to get Rob Copay or David Copay on here. And I told Tiger Woods' mom that I was Gary McCord. I was supposed to have lunch with him, but I lost his cell phone number. She gave it to me. So I've done some unethical things, but normally I had a good rapport with these people. Like Jim Brown, I knew well. When we got Jim Brown on the air in Springfield, people couldn't believe Jim Brown was on the air. But, he liked to talk, and I had a rapport with him. So, he came on. But, yeah, it took some work. But after a period of time, it was just make a phone call and hope they say yes.
And Kenny,
Now I got a podcast. I can't get anybody on. Nobody will call me back.
You might remember that one with Jimmy Brown. Well, obviously, you do remember it. We interviewed him for 45 minutes. He was that good. And
he liked to talk.
Yeah. Art?
He liked to talk.
I was going to say, Iggy, there were a couple times that I'd have guests that you helped me with, and they would say, well, yeah, you all there in St. Louis know this. Yeah,
a lot of people don't. I didn't say I was in St. Louis. I mean, they knew I was in St. Louis all those years, but I just think they associate Springfield with St. Louis. They associate, Missouri State. They probably think Missouri State's in St. Louis. They don't know.
Is it, if you were doing this full time all week, and I feel your pain because I do it for this show, getting guests. Is it more difficult now because you just mentioned you have a podcast, I do a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast, and you've got live radio. Are they being more selective in a lot of cases about what they do, the bigger name people that you would try to reach out to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can't get big names on anywhere unless you're a big-time, ESPN in Bristol or, Colin Cowherd, Dan Patrick, Jim Rome, people like that. Big-name guests aren't going on local radio station unless they're in your city. But, it just doesn't happen anymore. I mean, with the influx of sports radio and streaming and podcasts and, you're not getting people on anymore. So I got lucky. When I went to TMA the morning after, I stopped producing. I said, I'll do it if you want me to co-host. I'm done producing. So I haven't produced radio in 10 years. I don't even know if I could do it as my podcast. I mean, granted, I get a lot of porn stars on, but if I want to get, other people on, it's hard. I mean, I've had Joe Buck and Bob Costas on because I know them, but, getting people on that are interesting, they're just not going to come on a local podcast in St. Louis on a Patreon page. It's just not happening. So, yeah, it's very difficult to get guests on.
I don't know what the big deal is. I do a show with a former porn star every day here in the studio. Back to your movie back in the 70s, a pleasure doing business. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
What was your name back? What was your name back in the day, Ned? What did you use?
Yeah, what was your porn name back in the day?
What's Holmes' first name?
I think it was Naughty Ned, wasn't it? Isn't that what you went by?
Yeah, that'll be.
Yeah.
It was not Big Ned, I assure you.
Just average Ned. I like it. Yeah. Jan for short.
Kenny hey, come on, guys. Kenny, on the shows around, and I'm sure you do monitor many of them. Is there one in particular that is head and shoulders above everybody else as far as sports is concerned?
In St. Louis or nationally?
No, just nationally.
Yeah.
I don't really listen to radio. I listen to music. And I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. Probably the guy on ESPN. I always forget his name. The guy on ESPN that does the college game day as well.
Oh, the $60 million man. McAfee.
Oh, McAfee, yeah.
Mm-hmm. McAfee. I've seen his show a few times. I like him. He can be out there, but he's honest. Stephen A. Smith, I can take in small doses. But to be honest, I really don't listen to sports radio.
Art?
Well, so Iggy, you just kind of taking it week by week, month by month here with this?
Oh no, I guess I'm probably there as long as the show, or as long as they want to have me. I mean, it's the show's sold out. That's the reason they brought it back, is because sponsors said, if you put the old show back together for an hour, we'll be part of it. And so the show's sold out. It's we do an hour without taking a break. We do all of our live spots in the show, and we just talk about what we want to talk about, just like the old TMA. So, people love the show. It's getting rave reviews. The downloads are great, and we're having fun for an hour a day, 4 days a week. So I'm sure they're happy with it. And, I may say something, I'll get it kicked off. You never know. But for the time being, it's fun.
Iggy, wanted to ask you, being in St. Louis and right there to kind of see what's going on around you, what is the reaction of the Cardinals throughout this season? I think we all felt like maybe they overachieved early on. Now they've been, until last night, been a little bit of a tailspin here since the early part of July. Are they who we thought they were right now? Is this the Cardinals you expected all along? They'll just kind of be around 500 and could have big nights and could have not big nights.
Yeah, on my podcast, I did a Cardinal preview, and I said they'd win 75 games. And that looks like about what they're going to do. They overachieved at the beginning of the year, and now they're playing about how you thought they would. The bullpen is pretty much trash. The lineup is mediocre. They have good nights, they have bad nights, but, they're kids. I mean, that's what you pretty much expect when Hein Bloom put this team together and said, look, we're rebuilding. And no Cardinal Mosaic never came out and said, ever, we're rebuilding, because they never did. That was the problem with them through all those years. They had success, but they kept trading their prospects for a big name at the trade deadline because they thought they could make a run in the playoffs. And it just hurt them. Then they rebuild, and they got to, build up their scouting department, which Hein Bloom is good at. He's done that. So, and Ned, you've been around forever, and you've seen good teams, bad teams. Same with Art and Scott, for that case, is the problem you have is when you rebuild, you have to have minor leaguers that actually can do something when they're brought up. Because if not, you're going to be in this doldrum for many years. So the people that you draft and trade for, the youngsters, they have to pan out. And if you look in the past, Piscotty, Bader, O'Neill, Gorman, Scott, these guys that they thought were going to be there, and they're not. So you have guys, and the future looks bright, especially with the two guys down there with you guys, with Doyle and Rodriguez, their top two prospects in Springfield. They think they're going to be great. Brundell probably, they should probably bring him up now. Jimmy Crooks, you don't know what you have yet. Peay sucks. But these prospects that they have to do something eventually. And if not, then you're back to square one, hoping some of your other prospects come through. So, I think their prospects look good. But I think right now what they are, there's really, they're going to make some trades at the deadline. I think there's a reason they took Dustin May after 5 innings last night with 1 hit. Get him out of there while he had a good game. If he blows up, we're not going to be able to trade him. I think May's one. I don't know. Romero, O'Brien, maybe Herrera. Those are some pieces you look for the trade deadline before Monday, and then hope you get a few prospects in return. But at some point, they're going to bring these guys up, and they're going to have to produce.
Newtbar, can they get something for him?
Probably not. The thing is, who are they going to get for some of these players?
Yeah.
Herrera is not your typical DH. He is for the Cardinals, but he's not a typical DH. He's having a good year, but he can't catch. He can't throw anybody out. O'Brien, right up at the top in saves, but he's all over the place. He has no control. You could probably get something for him. But May, I think, with his outing last night, and you've seen spurts of greatness from him throughout the year. If somebody really needs a starter to bolster their rotation going into the playoffs, you may be able to get something for him. So I would expect him to be gone. But, other than that, what do they have? They have all prospects. You're going to trade prospects for prospects? No. So, Chaim Bloom is going to stick to what he's building this team for. He's not going to, people are saying in St. Louis, we're only 2.5 games out of a playoff spot. Well, where would they go in the playoffs with this rotation anyway?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe 1-1. So Chaim Bloom isn't going to trade any prospects for a starting pitcher or a relief pitcher. He's not going to do that. So, they're going to sell at the deadline, hopefully get some prospects, and he's going to stick to his guns.
Were you surprised that Mozeliak got back into the game as quickly as he did?
I am a little bit. Mm-hmm. He loves the game. He really does. And from what I'm hearing from a couple of people I know in the Angels organization is that he wants after this year's over, he wants the job. He's on a 6-month thing interim, but he wants the job. And the only way you get that job is at the end of the year if Artie Moreno thinks you've done a good job. So don't be surprised if Mo makes some moves here at the deadline to kind of impress Artie Moreno, because the guy's 79 years old, and not Mosaic like Artie Moreno. So, but Mo wants that job after the end of the year, so we'll see what he does at the trade deadline. But I was a little surprised. I thought he just, he doesn't need any money. He's happy, but how can you pass up going to live in Los Angeles?
Iggy, before we let you go, again, we appreciate your time. We need to have you back on more often this fall and winter.
Anytime, guys. I don't have to go on the air to 11, which means I leave here about 10:45. So,
well, I wanted to ask you, the one guest that you were able to get in all your years as a producer that you kind of went, ha, I got him or her, who it was, and then if there was one that you regretted. I remember you got for us, I think, Dick Vermeil on with us at the other place, and Vermeil could not have been less enthused about talking to us, wasn't that it?
That was exactly it.
Yeah. He was, we must have caught him on a bad day. But has there been anybody? Who's the one that you felt like your greatest get? And number two, is there anybody you're like, God, I shouldn't have done that?
No, I can't think of anybody I really wanted to get that I couldn't get. Because normally I just got guests that people wanted me to get, and I usually could find them one way or another. So I can't really think off the top of my head somebody wanted a guest and I took forever to get him and I couldn't find him or I couldn't get him on or her on. the one I regret the most, and it was just for me. I wouldn't have played it, but I did call Joe DiMaggio one day from his home. I produced Frank Cusimano's show, and Frank is one of the best. And what I loved about Frank is he always wanted big-time guests. So I worked my ass off for him to get guests, and we had a thing called Greats of the Game once a week where I would get a great on from the various sports to talk about it. And I wanted to get DiMaggio on. And I went to the back studio, and I was calling people to see if they come on. And I said, I never called DiMaggio. I wonder if this number works still. And it was his number in San Francisco, and he answered. And I just said, hey, Mr. DiMaggio, Kenny Strode from 590 in St. Louis. I said, we do a segment, Greats of the Game. You were one of my favorites. I never saw you play, but I've seen videos, and I would love to get you on with Frank. He goes, I really don't do radio. I just, I go to Old Timers games every once in a while, but I really don't do radio. I don't follow the game that much anymore. And I said, okay. I said, it would be fun to talk to you, and talk about your career. And he goes, but every time I talk, people want to know about Marilyn. And Marilyn was such a great lady. I love her to this day. And he starts talking about all this stuff. And he went on and on for like 30 minutes. And he said, I appreciate the offer. He goes, hell, for all I know, you're taping this and you'll play it. I said, I would never do that, Mr. DiMaggio. I hung up and I said, why the hell didn't I tape this? Jesus, I could have had it for me.
Exactly.
I'm in the back studio next to a recorder. I could have hit play, record. I would have had it for me to listen to me talking to Joe DiMaggio for 30 minutes. And I never had it. That's my one regret is I didn't hit record when I was talking to him.
There you go. Iggy, again, thanks, and best of luck to you with the show. And let's do it again here in a few weeks, okay?
Anytime, boys. Artsy, love to see you're doing well, buddy. I miss all you guys, and call me whenever you want.
Will do.
Hey, thanks, Iggy.
We'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.
Longtime St. Louis sports personality Ken Iggy Strode. Timeout on the starting lineup back in a second. That does bring back memories, visiting with Kenny Strode, doesn't it?
We decided during the break that we need to really blow this thing up. We're going to bring Iggy and Chuck Booms on together with the three of us, because we can do that now with our streaming setup. Art, that would be radio gold, wouldn't it?
Or radio something. Yep.
We don't know where Booms is or what he's doing.
I know you think you're joking, but I think that'd be a hell of a deal.
Yeah, it would. We would probably have to get Brian's approval on that before we went down that path. But we were telling stories at one of the other early breaks about the Kylie and Boom show. And yeah, it was big until it wasn't, and they overstepped their bounds, I think, one time, and that was the end.
He did.
Yeah, exactly. So, great show. I always enjoy talking to things, this time of year where you can learn more, and I think we did today.
It was a lot of fun, and Kenny has some very good stories to tell, and I'm sure his memories down here were pretty good as well. We out of time?
We're out of time.
All right, folks, thank you very much for being with us on this Thursday edition. That Reynolds along with
Scott Puryear.
Art Hains.
And indeed, we plan on seeing you tomorrow right here on the starting lineup.
See ya.